I have always believed in the power of prevention. I believe in seatbelts. I believe in life jackets. I'm not that great with sunscreen, but I'm working on it. I believe in prevention. Growing up, I always worked with kids. I was a nanny. I was a babysitter. I was, I worked at our St. Louis Science Center and doing camps. The thing that has kept me in the field are the people. You don't work at a place for 16 years unless you like the people you're working with. I also have become acutely aware of the thing that it is that we're trying to prevent. I am a codependent. I have several people that I care deeply about that are in active addiction. What that tells me is that I'm in this field to heal myself, and I didn't even know it.
Substance use disorder touches all our lives, and often we feel hopeless or frustrated in our pursuit to understand how and why it happens.
Welcome to APC Recovery Cafe, where we discuss the topics and trends around substance use, provide education and resources, offer recovery support, and also discuss prevention tactics, all through the stories of the people who have been there.
We invite you to grab your favorite coffee or tea and join us for a variety of guests that will bring understanding, information, connection, and hope.
Together, we can break the stigma and pave a brighter future for each other.
Hey guys, welcome to the APC Recovery Cafe. I'm Carie Wimberly, the Executive Director, and we are excited today to welcome Nichole Dawsey. Nichole is our new Deputy Director at APC, and we wanted to bring her in to the studio to learn more about her, to let her share her background. We can share some funny stories about how she got here, and then we have a little announcement at the end that we want to talk about as well. So welcome, Nichole.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. So what we like to do first is we usually talk to people about their favorite morning beverage. And I had to text you this morning to bring yours because there was nowhere I could go to buy that. We normally go to, like a Starbucks and buy the thing.
Oh, cool.
And then that's, that
idea.
incentivizes people to come and everything.
Idea. Yes, love it.
Okay, but all I knew is that you drink something in the morning and it's green. And so
Yes.
What is that? And tell us more.
Yeah, so in 2020, I was not making sourdough like a lot of other people were. I was doing a lot of other things like, working and trying to run a business and all the things. And I let my health go away. And I am a vegetarian or,
Right.
More specifically a pescatarian.
Right.
So I do eat some fish. And I was just not really taking care of myself. And so in 2021, I realized I need to do something different. I didn't really know what that was. So I got this, and it's called Athletic Greens, and it's a scoop full, and you pour it in water. And I will tell you, the first morning I tried it, I about gagged. The second morning, I gagged again. It took a solid week before I could drink it. And now, I drink it every morning. It has all kinds of, vitamins and probiotics and all the things. And I feel like if I do nothing else healthy the rest of the day, I've done this. So then I can, do whatever the rest of the day because I've done one healthy thing.
It looks horrible.
I will tell you, seriously, it took me a solid week to be able to drink it without that.
But now you're used to it and you don't enjoy it.
Actually, I do. I do like it. I know. Some people say that instead of putting it with water, you can put it with apple juice. I tried that one time and that was worse than the alternative. But speaking of podcasts,
yes.
I listen to this one podcast pretty routinely. They have episodes that come out every Wednesday. And one of their sponsors from the very beginning has been this company. And a lot of chefs that I follow drink the same thing because then it's the same thing. If they do nothing else healthy the rest of the day, they've at least started off.
Well.
And being a vegetarian or a pescatarian, I don't really eat that much fish, and it's hard to get vitamins.
Right.
It is. So
there's a lot of nutrition in there.
yes,
as
and
well.
probiotics. My mom, one time we were together, and Mom was like, "Let me have one of your drinks," and I was like, "Okay." That she was tore up. I was like, she was not like, when you first get on probiotics, like.
Be prepared.
Be prepared, right? I'm sorry, Barb, if you're listening to this. Mom's going to be mortified, but it's the truth.
Don't tell your mom about this.
No, I won't. She wouldn't even know how to find it. She'd be like, how do I listen to a podcast? Where can I watch it? Anyway, so yeah, I would say if you want to try this, which is very good, just be prepared the first week.
Okay. So it's in a bag, like you just scoop it. It's not. You don't. It's not. You're not juicing.
No, I'm not juicing.
Okay.
I'm very bougie, and it's a mail order subscription.
Okay.
That comes to me every month, and it stays in the refrigerator to maintain its probiotic qualities. And you just take a scoop, and and then
there you
I
go.
have the little shaker thing, and
I think maybe if it wasn't green, I might could, but I don't know.
it's really not that bad. Now I like, and also you're supposed to have it on an empty stomach.
Okay.
So for today, I'm drinking it in real time. So my routine's all messed up, Carrie. So I haven't had my coffee yet, believe it or not. I haven't had anything yet because
Wow.
I got to let this sink in.
Sorry, I messed you
It's okay.
up.
It's all right.
All right.
You should try it sometime.
I'm
Just be prepared.
I am, and for those who know the Enneagram, Nichole and I are both ones. You probably will hear that during this conversation. And as a good one, I like to take care of myself, maintain my health. So I am intrigued. I just don't know if
and I'm a creature of habit, so it
Same
might be
here.
hard at first, but once I get it, I mean, it is weird when I don't have it every day, like in the morning. Like it starts my day off. Even my nieces are like, "Have you had your green drink yet?" Like, so because now I've been doing it for 3 years, and so it feels weird when I don't have it.
Yeah.
And I would like to think I'm, trying to be healthy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it's good for
Makes
you.
me feel better.
Yeah.
About myself.
Well, and then you don't eat lunch.
I don't eat lunch, no. Because if I eat lunch, then I'm just tired and I want to take a nap.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to shift gears.
Okay.
And take us all the way back. Where were you born and raised? And then kind of walk us through your education and why you started to end up here. I know you were a teacher at one time, but
So born and raised in St. Louis.
Okay.
Oldest child. Have a younger sister. Very type A. She's 5 years younger than me, so I feel like I could just stop there and a lot of pieces would be filled in. Very into school growing up.
Yep.
I was a nerd. I mean, I still am a nerd, but I was really a nerd back then. Went to an all-girls high school.
Wow.
Because that was, I knew that would give me an opportunity to be able to lean into myself and to not feel nervous or hesitant or, all the things.
So that was a choice of yours?
Absolutely.
You chose that,
Yes.
not your parents.
Nope. I wanted to. So I will stop and say that in St. Louis, Catholic single-sex schools are very big. Okay, so there are lots of choices.
Not so much here.
Not so much here, but there are lots of choices. I mean, I think that I had my choice of probably 10 all-girls schools.
Wow.
And then on the flip side, there are 10 all-boys. And then there were, at the time when I was in high school, there were 3 co-ed Catholic schools as well.
Okay.
I did not want to do that because I did that growing up and I wanted something different. So I chose Coriezu Academy, which I had a relative go there, and Coriezu was sort of known. They're all kind of known for different things.
Yeah.
Coriezu was sort of known for academics.
Yeah.
And extracurriculars, but academics. And so went to the all-girls high school. Nuns taught there.
Wow.
It was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Wow.
I still have the opportunity to go back there and teach, and I'm friends with some of their staff.
Wow.
And
I want to go back and do it again. I think I missed something here.
yeah, it was awesome. And I, I didn't have to worry about boys, so that was really cool. You know, it was just, you just got to be yourself. And I took an oral communications class my freshman year and became really into public speaking,
Wow.
student council, National Honor Society, Latin Club. I told you I was a nerd. So all the things.
Latin Club.
Latin Club. Yes.
Took Latin.
4 years, and then
What?
yeah. 4 years. I will come back to that in a second.
Okay.
At one point, well, several points along the way, I thought I maybe wanted to be a sister.
Okay.
Yeah, even thought maybe a lay
Interesting.
missionary. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep, really.
Would not have thought that.
Yeah, I know. Yep. Yep.
Full of surprises.
Uh-huh. And when I was a senior, with my involvement with student council and public speaking, my dad at the time, was like, I think politics might be it for you. Like, I think you might be really interested in law and then politics. And I was. So I went to school at the Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C. It was very Catholic.
Sure to say, you got a lot of
Yeah.
Catholic going on.
There was a lot of Catholic going on. Still contemplating, maybe even being, entering sisterhood or a missionary of something like that. I went to Catholic University in Washington, D.C., and that was another amazing decision that I had made. Was able to get involved with some political campaigns, did some campaign managing of some student council-y kinds of things, worked at some nonprofits
Nice.
down on Connecticut and K Street.
Yep.
But then by the time I was getting ready to graduate, I was like, I don't really think I want to be a lawyer. I don't think I have the skin for politics. I don't think I have the ability to, I like to think I'm a pretty nice person, and I think
Yep.
people who get into politics and stay in politics and succeed, they have to make some decisions along the way, and I didn't really want to do that.
Yep.
But I had no idea what I wanted to do. My parents had gotten divorced while I was in school, and my dad had sort of left the picture. My mom didn't really care what I did as long as I was happy, which was awesome,
Yeah.
but that didn't really
Yeah.
give me some direction.
Right.
So I joined an AmeriCorps program called
Okay.
Teach for America
Yep.
and was sent down to southern Louisiana
Wow.
to teach 6th grade self-contained.
Wow.
And this is where my life totally goes in a different direction, because I had never even thought of being a teacher. I didn't know how to teach. The summer before, they sent me to Houston, and I was teaching 1st grade ESL. I don't know. I took Latin, okay?
Did you wake up one day and say, how did I get here?
Yeah, I was a classic Civ minor, okay? I could teach kids Latin. I wasn't, I was like, what happened?
Wow.
And I had always been used to achieving.
Yes.
And this was,
Familiar with that.
yeah. And I did not do very well in that environment. I did not know how to teach. I really struggled. I thought when I walked in, I was like, so I had learned I quote unquote learned how to teach with 1st graders in Houston who had English as a second language. Then I'm put in my actual assignment, which is 6th grade self-contained, which I didn't know what that meant at the time.
Yep.
But essentially what that means is they're in an elementary school and all of the other 6th graders are walking around. They're not, because they have behavioral issues, learning issues. So I had them all day. So I walk in and I'm imagining I'm going to be Michelle Pfeiffer from Dangerous Minds. I'm going to be teaching them, Shakespeare and changing their lives. And I was brought in as a result of the state's DSEG law.
Wow.
So I was one of 3 white teachers in the school.
Wow.
99% free and reduced lunch.
Yeah.
I am, very much not from there.
Right.
My students were 15, 16 years old, which if you know anything about 6th grade, that's not how old they're supposed to be, right? And at 17 in the state of Louisiana, when I was teaching, I don't know if it's still this way, you could drop out when you were 17.
Okay.
So these students were basically hanging on until they could drop out. They had less than 3rd grade reading levels. Many of them were working 1 or 2 jobs, heads of household.
Yeah.
Some of them had been victims of sexual assault. Yeah. Some of them had been pregnant before. One of them was selling drugs. Like, it was, again, I really thought I was going to be Dangerous Minds, okay? Yeah. And in November, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? As much as I'm trying to teach them about the Roman Empire and long division and things like that, they had no self-confidence. Their life skills were lacking. I mean, they had survival skills.
Exactly.
Survival skills are not really life skills, right? Like, they didn't know how to thrive. Right. They had so many talents, and so really what I started doing, I went into the principal and I was like, is it okay if I just go in a different direction? She was like, yes, just please make sure that they don't end up in trouble. Because she was like, that's a bad look. And it would have been a bad look to have a 16-year-old 6th grader at an elementary school getting in trouble. That would have been a bad look. Yeah. So I brought in guest speakers to talk about job training. We learned how to fill out a job application. We talked about health, even though I wasn't really supposed to talk about taking care of yourself and making sure that you're being safe. One day I brought in newspaper ads and everybody had $10 in Monopoly money. And it was like, okay, I need you to plan for groceries for the week. How are you going to feed your family? And they were like getting like bags of beans and rice and things like that. I mean, at that point, I knew that classroom education is so incredibly important, but there's a whole other side of the report card. And that the other side of the report card is what I wanted to devote my life to.
Wow.
So I Googled, this was in 2004, 2005. So I Googled, what is it called when you want to do education but not in a classroom? Like, literally. That's not even a good Google search. But I was like, what is it called when you want to do education but not in a classroom? And that's when public health came up. Yep. I didn't even know what public health was. So I started pursuing my master's in public health, moved back to St. Louis. At that point in time, while I was in southern Louisiana, I picked up a husband. And so he was a crawfish farmer. And for real. And so
that's another story.
That's a whole other podcast. But he was ready to get out of southern Louisiana as well. And so had several master's programs that I could have gone to, and we sat down together, and he chose St. Louis University because he felt like it would be the easiest transition from southern Louisiana to something else, right? So, and I had family there still. So moved back there, was going to school, interning at a public health department. And at the time, methamphetamine was everywhere, right? So this is mid-2000s. So I became involved at the public health department in some methamphetamine coalition work at a really grassroots level in a rural county, actually the county where I grew up in. So it was like a full circle moment. Wow. And that's when I got into substances. There was no, like, the fact that, I had lost somebody to substances or that I grew up as a child of an alcoholic or anything like that. Like, it was really education, kind of purpose-driven. Yep. And then once I got into it, I'm looking around and I'm like, oh, that's what that is. Oh, that's why that person was acting that way. Oh, this is why I'm attracted to the people I'm attracted to. Oh, so I sort of had on-the-job learning about my personal life rather than my personal life led me to this work.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So then I was in St. Louis, back in St. Louis for like 20 years, working at an organization originally called the National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse.
Yes. We
changed our name in 2020 because there wasn't anything else going on to prevent ed.
So why the name change? Because it was so long?
Well, yeah. Okay, so here's when it really hit me. When it really hit me was when I was introduced as Nichole Dawsey, Executive Director of the NAACP.
Ah.
I'm like, this ain't working.
Yes.
I had been introduced as that.
Yep.
Nichole Dawsey. Ronnie's over here laughing.
Yeah.
But it is
It's
true.
it.
And then Nichole Dawsey from the NCAA. All right, I don't sport, so that was also a problem. And then you walk into like a kindergarten classroom and your name says NCADA and kids are like, what's that stand for? And you're like, the National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse. And they're like, you're talking to us about drugs? And then there was that. You know, it was just so. And then we were part of a national organization. The national organization was going through some difficulty.
Right.
They dissolved.
Okay.
And at that point in time, I'm like, okay, we're not national in scope anymore.
Yep.
We're not a council.
Yep.
Alcoholism as a word has really fallen out of favor.
Yes.
And drug abuse has fallen out of favor.
Yes.
So really we were left with like and the. So in 2019, we had already made the decision to change our name because we had some extra money. We had a surplus. So we got that ball rolling and then COVID happened and the surplus disappeared. But the wheels were already in motion.
Right.
But
and we went through something similar because when I first got to APC, we did a branding thing and a strategic review and everything.
Hard.
It's so hard. And I mean, we were gonna, we really need to change the name because the word addiction is not, it's still out there, but substance use disorder. And it really for a year we contemplated, and then we're just like, we just can't, so we just, now it's, we still do that, but it's APC now.
It's so hard.
It's so hard.
And I will say that, NCADA, now Prevent Ed, has been around since 1965. No one's ever liked the name. And my predecessor joked with me before he left. He was like, you can do whatever you want. Now that I'm gone, you can even change the name. And I was like, ha, 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 no thanks. Because that's hard, it's your identity, it's your donors, your branding, recognition, all of that. And there were people that hated our name.
Yeah.
We lost supporters because they didn't like our name.
Prevent Ed.
Yes, they thought we were preventing something else.
Oh.
Or.
Okay, so you didn't specifically say what you were preventing.
Right.
You had to read more.
And
ask more questions.
We needed to work on our SEO.
Oh.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And also, there are people that really like the words National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse. They felt like it was more
big and global and
had
and
some
it
sounded important and it sounded very authoritarian, and some people just hate change.
Yes.
Right? Like some people
I'm familiar.
Some people just don't like change.
Yeah.
But I will say that by changing the name to Prevent Ed with an emphasis on prevention and education, which is the heart of the mission.
Yes.
I think the people who we wanted to reach, which are families, administrators at schools, people who are looking for support, and kids.
Yes.
I mean, we serve 70,000 kids every year.
70,000
we needed kids to be able to be okay with our name. And they know character ed, phys ed, junior ed. Like,
I like it.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of made sense.
In.
Thank you. So anyway, I was there for 6 years as the executive director, but total I was there for 16.
Yes.
So in a variety of different roles.
And I mean, and
teaching in the classroom.
Yes. And one of the things that we're so excited about you being here with us is to grow our student prevention program.
It's my favorite thing.
Yes. So, and I know you had a big part in expanding that there. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So when I was working in the meth coalition at the health.
I thought when I was working at the meth lab.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. When I was doing heroin presentations, our Google searches are so weird, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like when you look at, I don't know. Anyway.
I'm afraid like if somebody else was saying,
right. If they looked at your computer.
This person is,
yes.
That's the reason you get handed all these ads about all the THC
the other day I was
and the
doing
vaping
cannabis
and
with
the
teenagers. What?
Yeah.
So I'm in grad school. I'm working at the health department and I'm waitressing, but that's not enough. So I need a part-time job. So I see an ad in the paper because, this is how old I am. I see an ad in the paper saying that NCADA is looking for part-time educators. Well, I still,
You have some education experience.
but I didn't fancy myself an educator
Okay.
because, quite honestly, I only had 1 year in the classroom,
Okay.
and I felt like I failed. Even though I didn't, I felt like I failed.
Right.
It was the hardest year of my life.
Familiar with that
Yes.
as well. That failure feeling.
I felt like I failed.
Yeah.
But there was just something about the ad. So I went in and I interviewed, and I started I led off with the fact that I'm not really a teacher. And the woman, her name's Harriet Coppola, who has become one of my mentors and closest friends. She was the director of the prevention education department at that moment. She was like, "You are a teacher. You believe in kids. You have a presence. You know how to follow a lesson plan. You understand the importance of education. That's a teacher. You don't have to have a degree. You don't have to have a certificate. Like, you've got this." So they hired me on 2 days a week, working in St. Louis public schools, doing K through 12. So we have over 30 programs that we offer, 4-lesson series in the classroom. You go week after week. You could have our lessons, Prevent Ed's lessons, from kindergarten through 12th grade and never have a repeat lesson.
Wow.
So I'm going in and I'm getting paid great money, still doing all of the other things. At some point, it just became too much after about a year and a half, and so I left. And I was at a meeting, and I went to working at the health department full time now, in meth, sexual disease. What's
Transmission.
it called? Yes, STIs.
Yes.
Sexually transmitted infections. Thank you. Avian flu, emergency preparedness, all of these kinds of things. And I ran into my old boss, and she's like, "You need a job?" I was like, "I have a job." And she's like, No, you want a job here?" I said, "No, I don't. I got a job." And she goes, "I'm telling you, a lot of us are old, and we're getting ready to retire. And we need a succession plan." She's like, "And your name keeps coming up, and we think you're part of the succession plan."
Wow.
So I thought about it for like a month. My husband at the time was like, "If we talk one more time about this, I'm going to lose my mind," because I knew that if I went back there, I was going to be there for a really long time.
Right.
And at 28, 29, like, that's a really big decision to
Right.
make, you know?
Yeah.
So eventually I went back, and I was like, "I still want to teach, though. Like, I still want to teach." So they said, "That is not a problem." So I taught for another couple years while I was learning all the different project management things. And then in 2013, I stepped out of the classroom into the role of director of prevention. And in that space, for those 5 years I was in that role, we went from serving about 55,000 kids to 70,000 kids. We're in about 270 schools.
Amazing.
We've done some randomized control trials on our own peer education programs.
Yeah.
We have a teen leadership camp every summer. This summer will be our 42nd year.
Holy
and it is
cow.
my favorite thing to do, because you see 9th, 10th, and 11th graders come in as like, "What am I doing? Why am I at this drug camp?" And they leave, and they're ready to teach the power of prevention at their school. And it's just absolutely incredible.
Yep.
I definitely prefer working with middle and high school. I'll do kindergarten and first grade if somebody's in a bind, but that's really not my jam. I'd much prefer middle and high school.
Wow. I could see that.
Yeah, and I love teaching.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to be able to kind of bring those skills and my experience here. I know that APC, we do so much great work, and I know that there's also a lot of opportunity to do more.
There really is. And, we started with the DFC Drug Free Coalition grant. That's really
right.
what
That's
got
right.
us into the student space. We've been able to do some different things. Elementary school, middle school, high school are primarily in high school with a peer-to-peer. But
Yeah.
we've built that foundation, and I have felt for the last couple of years it's time to build the next story, and that's one of the reasons we're thrilled to have you here, to help us figure out how to do that, because the need is here, the desire is here,
And no one else is doing it.
exactly. And I think the schools, with the In Focus chapters that we were doing, plus the mental health training grant
That's
that
right.
we got, and we're doing the teen mental health first aid, plus the suicide prevention.
That's right.
We've built the relationships so that the educators can trust us, which really means the most to me.
Absolutely.
So they don't feel like we're just running in and running out and we're not invested.
That's right. Well, first of all, we know that teachers are under so many different constraints,
Oh my gosh.
right? And they have everybody watching them,
especially post pandemic.
Absolutely, more people are watching them than ever before.
Yep.
If they're going to let somebody in their classroom
Yep.
with their students, they know it has to be quality.
Yes.
They know that those students have to be invested. The
Yep.
people have to be genuine.
Yep.
They also have to be, identifiable. Like you have to be able to relate to them in
Yep.
some way. And we also know that teachers are pulled into a million different directions.
Yes.
Counselors oftentimes go into counseling to be a counselor, and many
Yep.
times they're pulled into admin.
Yes.
And they're spending their time, in meetings when they really just want to be in the classroom.
Right, helping the students.
So, K through 5, we can really be an extension of the school counselor,
Right.
Referring issues to the counselor as appropriate, obviously.
Yes.
But then, 5th through 12th grade, let's be an extension of those health teachers
Yep.
who cannot learn all the topics. I mean, how can they possibly know everything about nutrition and diseases and, all the bones in the body
Right.
and drugs? I mean,
Right.
that's a lot.
Plus, we're in the field,
yes,
and I am constantly
learning.
It's changing every single day.
Absolutely.
So how in the world
You
can
cannot be an expert on
educators?
all
You
things.
cannot.
Mm-mm.
Yep.
Nope. So I'm really excited to grow. I mean, I'm definitely in the space right now where I'm observing. I'm asking
Right.
a ton of questions.
Yes, which I love.
I got my little notebook.
Yep.
But I'm really excited about getting to the place where we can expand the prevention programs. I
Yep.
think the climate is ripe.
Yep.
We have great staff.
Yes.
And I think the kids are hungry for it.
Yep. So, so it's interesting to me because, like, when we are interviewing for, open positions, we always say, "What's your why?"
Yeah.
Because I've learned that, I'm an odd bird. I don't know how I got here.
Do any of us know how?
Really, I was a programmer. I worked for the phone company.
Yeah.
How in the world?
I know.
But it was for me life experience. But I've also learned that in the nonprofit world, if you don't have a pretty good why, you don't usually stay because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
we don't pay great.
Hours.
We try.
Right.
The hours are
It's tough,
strange.
yeah.
It's tough, but it's very rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
So it is interesting to me because you come to this space very passionate and very driven. So your why is different than most people. I mean, you came in it through the back end,
Yep.
but your passion kind of grew as you got into that space. It was an unlikely path.
That's right.
So you want to say anything about that?
Yeah. I mean, I think what I know to be true now in retrospect is that I have always believed in the power of prevention.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes back to my drink, right? Like, I believe in seatbelts. I believe in life jackets. I'm not that great with sunscreen, but I'm working on it. But you know what I mean? Like, right? Like, I believe in prevention. I also, growing up, I always worked with kids. I was a nanny. I was a babysitter. I was, I worked at our St. Louis Science Center and doing camps and things. The thing that has kept me in the field are the people.
Yep.
I mean, you don't work at a place for 16 years unless you like the people you're working with.
Yep.
The people here are great. I knew that the first time that you and I chatted that I could come here because I knew that you would have a team that I would want to be a part of. I also have become acutely aware of the thing that it is that we're trying to prevent.
Yes.
So I have several people that I care deeply about that are in active addiction.
Yeah.
I am, I know this word has fallen out of favor, but I own it. I am a codependent,
Yeah.
and I have had lots of romantic relationships with people who were in active addiction, and I didn't know it,
Yeah.
or were in active addiction. While I'm in this field, by the way, while
Yes.
I'm running a nonprofit, you know, in relationships with people who are using to cope, using to feel normal, using to be able to function,
Right.
and covering for them and trying to cure it and thinking I caused it and trying to tiptoe around. And so I think that what that tells me is that it's as like I'm in this field to heal myself. And I didn't even know it.
Yes.
Like I got into it because I believe in vitamins and I like kids.
Yes, all
the things, right?
the bumper plates.
And then, I mean, if I've had $1 for every person who's called me and been like, "Hey, I need help,"
Yeah.
or that I've had to walk away from,
Yes.
or that I've had to do an intervention on,
Right.
like it's everywhere,
Right.
and that's what keeps me in the field.
Yep. And very similar, you know, when our sons,
Yeah,
started using, and of course it's in high school, and you're like, it's just a high
it's
school thing.
normal.
Right.
Right.
You do all the things, and you suspend, and you take the car away.
That's right.
And you do all the things, and it doesn't stop, and it increases. And then all their friends go off to school, and they can kind of moderate, but ours couldn't, So as we ended up in recovery, starting some recovery groups in our church, and I thought, and I started, I was leading, I was
Yeah.
doing all the things.
Yeah,
I was creating all the groups and getting all the curriculum together
Oh,
and whatever.
yeah,
And so then I was sitting in on the groups. I was moderating the conversations, and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with me
Of course not.
because it's all the crazy people around me.
Totally.
And
you're keeping it together. You got
Yes.
your little clipboard.
Yes.
And you just, yep.
So it wasn't until I'm leading a step study and I have to do my 4th step and my 5th and my 6th and my 7th, and I have a sponsor.
Yep.
And I'm going across the chart and it says your part. I'm like, I didn't have a part. I was perfect. I did everything right.
Yeah.
I was the
doting
one.
mother. I'm
Yes.
the doting wife. Right. Totally.
And then one day the scales fall
Mhm.
and you're like, holy cow. Like, yeah, I'm not responsible for their use. But what I was doing in the midst of all that
you played
was
a part.
was contributing.
Totally.
And I never saw it. I saw myself as the good one, the one that was keeping it together.
Absolutely.
So-
the roles
Yes.
are apparent, like, for a reason.
Yes.
Like, we play a role,
Right.
and it is crystal clear. And,
Yes.
like, you can look and be like, oh, I was totally the hero.
Right.
Or I was totally the scapegoat.
Yes.
And while you're in it, it doesn't,
You can't see
you
it.
can't see it. And even in retrospect, I'm like thinking to myself, why did I do that?
Right.
But you also, you can't kill yourself with whys.
Right. And I
But
mean, I
also-
did feel a tremendous amount of guilt. We talk about this in family support.
Yeah.
We talked about it last Thursday. Parents feel incredibly guilty
Yeah.
because there is a theme in that as a parent, you're constantly trying to equip your children for the goal to live a happy and a healthy life.
Yeah.
And so if your children do that, and this is another issue with people that have children that are struggling. I look out and their friends are getting their graduate degrees
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're married and they have the children and they're doing the things and they're going to the lake together, and we're trying to get it together here. Like, we're trying to actually just get together for Christmas every now and then. And then you're like, okay, clearly I failed them.
Yeah.
So
What am I doing wrong?
yes.
Yeah.
And so there is this thing about making it about me, but it really is, as a parent, trying so desperately hard to to give them what they need to do well, and society congratulates you when they do well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, if we're saying, oh, you did so well because they're doing well, then is the reverse not true? So my one brain, that's the way I think. Either I did it well or I didn't. So that guilt also contributes and is the motivator for a lot of that bad behavior, codependent behavior on the outside. Because if I really think I caused it, then I'm going to do everything I can to fix it. I would anyway, but
paint a rosy picture.
Yes.
And prevent the wheels from falling off.
Yes.
And so I do not have children. I will inherit a gaggle of children if anything ever happens to anyone, because I have like 17 godchildren, whatever. So I don't have any biological children. But exactly what you're talking about with being a parent is exactly how I have felt in relationships.
Right.
And making sure that I'm trying to paint a rosy picture,
Right.
even though there is no rosy picture to paint, hoping and praying that we could get through a Christmas,
Yes.
right, without the wheels coming off.
Right.
Wondering, why do I keep choosing these things?
Yes.
What's wrong with me that I keep falling into this behavior?
Right.
How do I not even know that some
Right.
of this behavior is happening?
Right.
Shouldn't I know this? I mean,
Yeah.
I've devoted my life to this field.
Right.
How do I not know? How can I not see the signs?
Right.
And
But
it's
what
incredibly stigmatizing.
Yes.
I have family members that are struggling right now who still do not talk to me about it.
Right.
It's still the elephant in the room.
Right.
I'm on the news talking about drugs all the time.
Right.
And yet we're not talking about it.
Yep.
And I talk about it with my counselor.
Right.
I'm pretty open about it because it shows up in other places.
Yes.
So I, for Prevent Ed's newsletter, I wrote a column one time about the fact that I am a codependent.
Right.
And I just came out and was talking about it because it shows up at work
Yeah.
when I give employees too many chances.
Yeah.
When I try to paint a picture that everything's great, when it's not.
Yeah.
When I fail to hold people responsible.
Yeah.
And then when I do.
Right.
Right? Because then I'm just done.
Right.
And I've been lucky.
Very one-ish.
Exactly. And I've been
Over-responsible.
so privileged to have people around me that are on my team, that I feel like are on my team,
Yes.
that hold me accountable.
Right.
And that only happens by being open.
Right.
About
the
it.
struggle. Yeah.
Because it's a struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you know.
Oh, I know.
I can feel it sometimes
Yes.
start like coming back.
Yes. And I mean, it's almost, and because I'm old now, you're not. But I mean, there is some wisdom in aging. If you choose to, choose to dig in and learn.
Right.
And I can, when I get in situations where I know I need to do something that's going to be difficult and hard, but I'm trying not to do it. Like I get that instinctual.
Yep.
Okay, there it is.
That's right.
You can do the hard, right thing, or you can do the easier,
thing that's just going to create more pain for everybody involved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Over time. So there's, at least I have a sensation of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we could talk a long time
I know.
because we share a brain. Okay, so we'll do a quick story of how we met because I just think it's so cool.
It is cool.
So I'm trying to think. Okay, so we have a mutual friend. We have several mutual friends,
do.
which is so
Yes.
weird.
But we had never met each other
No.
before
When?
like 9 months ago.
Yes.
10 months ago.
Okay, so another prevention friend
From upstate New York.
from upstate New York who is actually retiring this year and coming and moving to Alabama because her sister is here, random, which we had gotten to be friends, had been on a little team together, and we had met for lunch.
Yes.
We'd been on Zoom together. So she reaches out to me and says, "Hey, I've got this friend and she's in prevention, and she's going to be in Birmingham, and wondering if you would meet her for coffee. She's trying to meet some people in Birmingham. I'm like, sure, we'd love to. So we're meeting. We met at Red Cat Coffee. Had no idea who you were.
Nope. Nope.
So run down there. I can't
I was
even
like,
remember.
I'll be holding this rose. Please come find me. I didn't even know what you looked like, for real.
I know. So we sit down and we start outside, start talking. And I don't know, 2 hours
2 hours later. Uh-huh.
both of us were late to our next meeting.
That's right.
I mean, we never quit talking. Like,
Yeah.
it was
It's like
like
a mind meld.
it was freaky. So, and didn't think anything of it. Left, and then you were back in town or something, and you reached out again. Hey, you want to grab coffee? Yes. Did it again. And then I'm like, holy cow. And then I realized you're going to move to Birmingham. Which, do you want to
Yep.
do you want to touch that one, or should we just move on?
I think people want to know why I'm moving to Birmingham.
Okay.
And I think that one thing that I will say is that last August,
Yes.
so August of 23, Birmingham hosted the National Prevention Network Conference.
Yes.
And, I don't know who comes to Birmingham in August, but a lot of preventionists do. And the conference was great.
Yep.
But more than the conference, I think the people were so warm from the moment I stepped out of the airport. I had been looking for a change. I had been needing a change in scenery. It wasn't really on my bingo card, but I had been looking for.
And you kind of felt that
I felt
coming. Yeah.
I felt it, and it was weird when Julie said, "I'm moving down here. My sister lives down here. I'm moving down." I'm like, really? And I'm just, all these kind of pieces were aligning, and I knew it was the time to make a change. There was really strong leadership at Prevent Ed, and the deputy executive director role. She had, and I had worked alongside each other for 16 years. She was ready, willing, and able to step into that role. We had a strong board, have a very strong staff. The only thing that really wasn't very strong was me and my personal life,
Yeah.
honestly. And if I stayed in St. Louis, I was going to keep doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So I decided I was moving. And so the second time we met, I sat down and I said at Edgar's, and I was like, can I come to work at APC?
And I was like, what?
I was like, can I have a job?
Because I was like, coming from that large of an organization, I'm like, would she even entertain, going into a small staff, the small footprint? But you were so, I loved everything about what you're thinking about, what you're frustrated about, what you want to do, and if you move to Alabama, you're also very sweet and complimentary about APC. You've done a great deal of research and had dug a lot. So by the time we met, you knew a lot about APC, which was both comforting and flattering. So, when a position came open here, there was no doubt. I can't believe you're here. I'm
so grateful.
I'm beyond thrilled, and can't wait to see,
I'm excited.
where APC is going to go.
I'm ready to
I
do
know.
it. I'm ready
And
to
I mean,
roll
and-
up my sleeves.
And how long have you been here? 2 weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my gosh.
This is the start of my third week.
week. And we have run 1,000,000 miles already. So exciting. Okay. So we need to wrap it up.
Yep.
Unfortunately. But the thing I wanted to, the little announcement is, not only are you a preventionist, you're a podcaster.
True story.
Okay. How did that happen?
Well, so we had this name change, right?
Yes.
But there were a few other things going on in 2020. So it didn't really make the news. No one cared that we changed our name because there were other things to care about.
Yes.
And meanwhile, no one's really going anywhere.
Right.
And so I had been invited to be on a bunch of other people's podcasts, construction industry podcast about prevention, some mental health stuff. And I was talking to one of my board members who works for a large broadcasting company in St. Louis. And I said, could I borrow a mic? I'm kind of tired of being on everyone else's podcast, and I just kind of want to try it. And we had some in-house talent. So at my former organization, we had in-house marketing and communications team. And they were itching to do something different, especially with the rebrand.
Yeah.
Because they knew
Yes.
we needed to figure out a different way.
Right.
So my board member said, you want a mic? And I said, yeah. And she goes, I'll do you one better. She goes, give me a week and just press pause. Give me a week. So I guess she went straight in, talked to her higher ups at this broadcasting company, and they said, what do we have to lose? They were hemorrhaging money also, right?
Yep.
Because it's during the pandemic. No one's listening to the radio. No one's in their car. No one's driving. So they were looking for something a little bit different. They took a chance on us. They gave us the podcast studio free of charge. Use of all of their equipment and platforms and things like that, and really had some some incredible in-house talent, editor, person who would help with the intro and the outro and the music and all of the things. And so we are currently in our 4th season.
Wow.
So November will be the end of the 4th season.
Yep.
It's called The Preventable.
Yep.
And we've had some really great guests, some really great conversations.
Yep.
What we were saying about the great thing about podcasts is it's a chance to be able to talk about an issue that's not in a 15-second soundbite.
Yes.
There's nuance. There's pause. There's understanding. There's happiness. There's grief. There's all of the things that come with this thing called substance use disorder.
Yep.
And you can talk about the intersection of substance use and mental health and in all aspects.
Right.
And you're not worried about fitting it in to make it sound sexy or cool, you know?
Yep.
So that's why the podcast medium, I think, has just been, it's just taken off. It's allowed people to really be like authentic and have like an actual conversation when so much of us are just scrolling for a headline.
Yep.
And this is not a headline.
Yeah.
Right? How do you encapsulate this conversation in a headline? You can't.
Well, and I think, one of the struggles that we have is we have a lot of information.
Yeah.
And a lot of education, which is power.
Yeah.
I always say that.
That's right.
But it's hard to get delivered. Students, if they let us in the classroom, but also adults. And all of us have experiences. I mean, we know somebody, we're married to somebody, our children,
we work with somebody.
We work with somebody, our neighbor, I mean, whatever, our mother. Somebody is struggling that we love.
Yep.
And there's a lot of information, but it's hard to get it out there.
That's right.
So I think this medium, so that people can listen to it in the privacy of their car or home.
That's right.
And they can relate to what we're saying, and they can learn something new, or they can find out about resources, or they can hear a story of somebody that overcame, or they can learn about grief, or they can learn about all kinds of things that it's just difficult for us to get this information out in other ways.
And they can pause it if it gets to be too much. If their kids get in the car, if they've got to run into the store real quick, and then they can unpause it, and then they can listen again.
And they can share it.
Yeah. That's right.
Yep. So the announcement is that Nichole is going to be taking over APC Recovery Cafe, and
I'm so happy.
I'm excited about it because, as all of you know, this is not my space. I love the conversations, but this is, I'm not great at it. I do it because I'm passionate,
but you don't
about
feel great at it.
Whatever.
Okay.
But you are great at it, and you do enjoy it, and you bring a lot of experience and wisdom and knowledge, and you're much cooler than me, as I keep telling people.
You do keep saying that. That is so. Can I just tell you something? For every young, I don't know what the demographics are here yet, but I don't know if there's a lot of young people listening to this, but I feel the coolest I've ever been. I mean, I started this podcast off telling you that I was a National Latin Club, okay?
Yes.
Silver medalist on the National Latin exam, if this tells you anything. I wanted to be a nun, not saying nuns aren't cool, but like I was not cool. And I'm not cool now, but I feel cool.
So why is that?
Wisdom, birthdays, not giving a you know what, I mean,
Doing the best you can with what you have?
that's it. Like, and I feel like at 43, I am now my like most authentic self. And I feel like I'm going to keep getting that way year after year.
Okay, you could be my daughter because I have a son that's 42. Oh, my word. How is that possible?
I don't know. Wow. Age ain't nothing but a number.
I know.
But I do. I feel like I am most authentically myself.
Yes.
And I don't feel cool. I feel like a 12-year-old still, like
Yes.
trapped in
Well,
this
so do I.
body,
So
right?
that doesn't
Right.
change. Yes.
But it's also like, what do we have to lose?
yes.
What
But
do we
but
have
you're
to lose?
but you're where you're
I'm
supposed
exactly
to be.
where I'm supposed to be.
Doing what you're supposed to be doing, and that's when you
I
start to
purpose.
feel cool.
I feel exactly where I'm supposed to be, and
Yeah.
I feel like I'm living the way that I want to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes,
I'm
so
it's
glad
been
you're here.
so great. Everyone has been so kind. The staff at APC, all of
They're
the
rock
supporters,
stars.
the volunteers, literally everyone I've met, Ronnie, everyone I've met has been so genuinely kind. And it's not just like a bless your heart. Like
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah,
like really kind. So thank you.
we grow up kind here.
Yeah. Yes.
I think
Yes.
they raise us kind,
They do. But it's like
but we
real.
mean it.
You mean it.
Yeah,
Yes.
we like people.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you for having me.
yes.
I'm very
So
excited.
stay tuned.
Yes, stay tuned, everybody.
Nichole and Ronnie are getting together. They're going to figure out some new things, kind of a little new direction, and we will be starting season 2 very soon. So thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate all you guys, and we'll see you soon.
And but you're gonna be back, right? Okay.
Every once in a while.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. Bye, guys. One of the things that APC is known for is being a connector because we're stronger together.
Not only are we there for those who are suffering through substance use disorder, but we're there for family members, and we really take our job seriously.
We all have personal reason why we're in this field. We're changing people's lives one community at a time.